Welcome to the 2020 Rogue Invitational. While we would prefer to be with you at Rogue headquarters for an in-person event, we have been working very hard to bring you this live broadcast from over 40 locations around the world. That world is under duress. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected all humans. Its physical and economic impact have been felt throughout the world. As we fight to overcome the pandemic, we must also fight against racial inequality. There is no room for racism or bigotry. The Black community needs our help. No person should be made to feel uncomfortable in their skin. This community needs to stand up for what is right and treat each other with love and respect. We can't wait for you to see all the hard work these athletes have put in. Enjoy the competition and don't weaken.
Dread it, run from it. Destiny arrives all the same. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rogue Iron Game. I am Sean Woodland. Thanks for joining us. We finally have some competition to talk about as we get you set for the 2020 Rogue Invitational. I am being joined by Chase Ingraham and Margaux Alvarez as we get ready for, guys, what seems like the first competition in probably about 12 years. I think it's just going to be so awesome to be able to sit here and actually watch the best athletes in the world throw down.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I think I've been looking forward to this for the past few months. I was looking forward to the Rogue Invitational last year, and just to have it all come together, I have goosebumps talking about it, looking forward to watching the athletes go and perform. I know they worked really hard, and so to see them come out and put their best foot forward is going to be incredible.
And to your point, Margaux, is like best foot forward. Rogue always seems to do that when it is in the space of competitive CrossFit. And this, what we're about to embark on this weekend, is unprecedented. It's never been done before. This is going to be a new format, and I have never been more excited about something like this. The fact that we have live competition finally back in the space, I'm so pumped.
Chase, you mentioned it. This is a new format, and I don't think people understand how unique this really is. Here's what is being done in order to facilitate this competition. So all the athletes are going to be in their own separate locations. We are bringing in feeds from more than 40 different locations for this event. There will be a judge on site with the athlete. We will have live scoring, and there will be a judge's camera that will also be on site that we will not be able to see. But that is going as well. So we have all our bases covered. There was also a package of equipment that was sent to every athlete and a layout that illustrated how they needed to situate everything so everyone has the exact same competition floor. We wanted to keep this thing as fair as possible. So here's a look at what's going to happen over the next 2 days. We have 6 total events. We will have 3 on Saturday, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back on Sunday, and we will have 3 more events, and then we will crown the 2020 Rogue Invitational Champion. And when you guys look at these events, when you take that first glance at them, I mean, pretty straightforward, but pretty challenging here.
I think, for lack of a better term, and it's classic CrossFit. I mean, when you have these programs, these programmed events, a lot of things that I would say the competitive space allows is certain nuances and high skills and little separators. We don't have that. The programming levels the playing field to a degree we haven't seen in a long time, and to me, that's very exciting for the competition. I think it's even more exciting for the athletes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to these events. I love that the theme of last year you saw Amanda 0.25. This year we have a variation of Randy, a variation of Fran with a heavier weight after each round. So having this base of events where we've all done them as athletes, right? We've all done the workouts across the board, but now having these events with the twists and the changes, I think it's going to be really unique, and I'm looking forward to athletes rising to the occasion and doing these.
Tia-Clair Toomey is your defending Rogue Invitational champion, and we actually talked about her, what it was going to be like competing without a massive crowd and without her fellow athletes in order to help her pace.
I am definitely looking forward to how this plays out, and how I perform when I don't actually have a crowd, or I don't actually have, my competitors right there with me. I think that that's something that's going to be quite unique and a really cool learning curve. And I think that, I feel very confident in my ability that, I pushed hard and I wanted more than anyone. And so that fire inside of me is something that will come out, and I'm really happy and kind of excited for that to happen.
Now, some of the athletes will be able to have people at their gym as long as they are adhering to whatever the local restrictions are on gatherings and making sure they're using the appropriate social distancing in order to keep people spaced apart. But they're not going to have the crowd that they're used to. Margaux, I'll start with you. How big of a deal is that for a competitor to not to be able to feed off that energy?
I think it's definitely, like Tia said, it's going to be a learning curve. I think that energy in that crowd is huge. I know when you're out there on that competition floor and you have that energy from everyone, it kind of gives you this extra boost into that workout or into that event. It might not affect some people. It may. On the other side of that, you also have the advantage of being in your own bed, being in your own gym space, the comfort of your own place where you usually are training. So there's two sides to this story, and I think that it's going to be really interesting to see how the athletes fare against all these events.
And I think that home thing is definitely one thing to look out for these athletes. And, I was always a gamer on game day. The crowd helped, being on the competition floor did. There's some athletes that actually perform better at home in their home gyms and in their setting than they do on the competition floor. So I think we'll see a lot of different changes in maybe some of how these athletes compete this weekend. But, Sean, you said earlier is people can be there, but they're not going to have the crowd noise. They're not really allowed to do that. You're not going to have music so they are in a bubble this weekend.
There are a couple of big-name athletes who have had to withdraw because of injury. Mat Fraser, the biggest, he's the defending champion. He went to social media and he posted that he was nursing an injury before this event. The injury has since healed, but it did affect the way that he prepared for the Rogue Invitational, so he felt it best that he sit this one out. So it's disappointing, Chase, that we don't get to see Mat Fraser compete. Everyone likes to see him throw down. But at the same time, does this now kind of make things a little more exciting for everybody?
Well, I mean, how many times do you want to see Godzilla destroy Tokyo? All right. And so, for the past decade, it's been Rich dominance, it's been Matt dominance. And I personally love seeing a dominant figure with Ben Smith being the only athlete on the men's side to win in the last 10 years. However, coming into this weekend, this is the Rogue Invitational. It's going to be really amazing to see how the playing field kind of levels and opens up doors for a more competitive scene we haven't seen on the men's side in about 10 years.
On the women's side, Carrie Pierce, she has withdrawn as well. She's nursing a wrist injury. And Margaux, disappointing that we don't get to see her compete, given the fact that she did so well at the games last year and has a lot of momentum coming into the season, and people think she may be the first American to get on the podium at the games since 2014.
Yeah, I'm sad to have her not be competing. She was actually one of my picks to win the Invitational. I spoke to her a little bit, and obviously she's bummed that she won't be able to compete this weekend. But the priority is the long-term goal, making sure that her wrist heals, that she's able to come back stronger and be able to finish her overall goal.
Despite the absence of Carrie Pierce, there is an absolutely loaded field on hand here for the 2020 Rogue Invitational. 8 athletes have finished on the podium at the CrossFit Games. 3 of them are former champions. And just look at the list of names here. Tia-Clair Toomey, Kristen Holta, Laura Horvath, Jamie Simmons, formerly Jamie Green, Katrin David's daughter, Cara Saunders making her return. That'll be fun to watch. Sam Briggs, who won the Games in 2013, and then Sarah Sigmund's daughter is part of this field as well. And speaking of Sarah Sigmund's daughter, she was off to a great start this season. She attended and competed at 3 sanctioned events, and she never finished lower than second, and she won 2 of them. She was second last year at this event, and Sarah is hoping to prove that 2020 is finally her year. It's Sarah Sigmund's daughter running towards her second event win of the Rogue Invitational.
You work hard every day to get where you are. I have to give it the best I got, die a little bit in each workout, and hopefully that will be enough.
Sarah Sigmund's daughter is going to demolish the time to beat. And there is a new Sarah on the block. Sarah Sigmundsson wins event 3.
I won't be the person that got injured and never came back. I want to show that no matter what happens, that you can always work your way back. I just believe in myself more, and I believe that anything is possible.
Margaux, Sarah has continuously given us signs that, hey, maybe this is her year, maybe this is her year, and then she falls short. She looks like she's doing that again as far as giving us the signs that she is a new athlete, but she's got to beat Tia Toomey at some point. What are the odds that happens here?
I think there's a huge possibility for that. Both her and Tia are great athletes. They have the physical capabilities, they have the strength, they have the endurance, but it's going to come down to that mental game and the mental preparation, which is huge. Sarah's actually noted and stated that at the end of last year, how she's changed her training environment. She's changed some of her things and who she trains with, and I think that's in her advantage and is allowing her to make strides forward in that mental game. Like you said, she competed in multiple sanctionals and won 2 of those events, and so it's putting her in a good position now to go forward. I think it's going to be a great battle between her and Tia, and it will come down to that mental preparation and how they can finish that battle strong.
Margaret, to your point, it's one of the biggest point settings when you look at Tia-Clair Toomey, is that was the tide that turned for her, was that mental game. And we've always said is Sarah's almost self-sabotaged herself over the years, and you know, she was one of those that is fully capable of being on top of the podium. In this setting, being at her home gym, kind of dictating her own environment, I think that could bode well for Sarah Sigmundsdottir.
Like every other sport out there, the world of strongman has been significantly affected by the global pandemic. Strongman fans really haven't had any big event to watch for a couple of months now. The Arnold Strongman Classic was really one of the last big sporting events of any kind to take place before everything just stopped. But after that, the world of strongman has basically been put on hold. The Arnold Strongman Classic did take place. That was back in March. Now, there were no spectators there, so that was a much different atmosphere. But after that now, Europe's Strongest Man has been postponed. The Arnold Strongman season has been put on hold, as has the world's strongest man. So to talk more about what's going on in the world of strongman, let's bring on our walking, breathing, living, talking encyclopedia of all things strongman. He is Dr. Bill Crawford. Dr. Bill, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. You are really involved in the world of strongman. You talk to these guys all the time. What's it been like for them now dealing with just basically their season being put on indefinite hold?
Well, just like all of us, they're just trying to get through their daily life. They're trying to protect their families and themselves, a lot of the other restrictions that have come along. But mostly for a competitive athlete, especially at that level, when you're talking about the top level of strongman, they're trying to keep their edge. And the crucible of getting better and making new standards is proving yourself in competition. The anvil of making yourself harder against other athletes is what brings you higher and higher in your sport. So they haven't had that. So there's been some things that we've been able to have, some records that we've been able to watch, which kind of keeps guys going because they were peaking for some big competitions, particularly World's Strongest Man in May, and that was postponed. So this gives them a chance to sort of live out their competitive cycles. Now, as we go into the competition season without these competitions, how do they keep that edge and how do they continue to progress and reinvent themselves maybe is going to be seen.
We mentioned the Arnold Strongman Classic and how there were no spectators there. Well, Dr. Bill actually was there. He was one of the guys calling the action. And in case you missed it, here's a look back at what happened in Columbus, Ohio.
The 2020 Arnold Strongman Classic Championship. Martins Lises.
275. Wow. Up easily. Jams it overhead. Got it. New mark to beat is set. How far can he go? time to beat.
Wow.
That is moving really quickly. He's only 20 seconds in and he's already passing people. 112 feet.
Can he lock it up? Yes! Got it! Yes!
And he keeps the pressure on Hafthor. Ilyaskovsky
wins.
sailing to the top with the best time of the day.
One of the greatest strongmen in history, Hafthor Bjornsson!
One of the great stone lifters ever.
Puts it down under a minute. The two-time defending champion making a statement. 90 pounds. He's got it.
Wow. Great foot movement. He's got great leverage. 1,026, a huge statement. That is unbelievable.
He made that look like a toy.
The Mountain wins his third straight Arnold Strongman Classic, 52.5 points, beats Mateusz Kiełkoski by just 2 points. Martins Litsic, he finishes in third place. And Mikhail Shivlikov out of Russia, he took sixth, and he competed the whole time on a high ankle sprain, so an incredible result for him. But let's bring Dr. Bill Crawford back in to talk a little bit about what happened. Obviously, what Hafthor Bjornsson did is incredible, winning his third straight. But Mateusz Kiełkoski is really starting to look like he is coming into his own and maybe a threat to knock Hafthor off that top spot.
Okay, here's something to think about. Mateusz won 4 events out of 6. So that means the pressure is on, and Hafthor only won by 2 points. So minus that deadlift performance, Mateusz really had a dominant weekend. The main thing that impressed me about Mateusz is he was very consistent, and he made improvements in some of his weak events and even improved somehow in his strong events. He is the future of strongman.
Well, Hafthor Bjornsson was not done having incredible feats of strength shown for the world. He went after the world record deadlift, and a ton of people watched it because it was just a live sporting event. And as we were watching, Hafthor kind of warm up here, and an ungodly amount of weight. I mean, 925 pounds to warm up here, Dr. Bill. Like, when you watch this, it was pretty clear that world record was going to fall.
Well, watch his warm-ups. The bar's rocking up and down as he lifts it. That means he's got complete command of that weight. But then when he gets to the last lift, he comes off the floor, gets it to his knees, and just pulls back. That was a no doubt lift from the start. And I think he had another 10, 15 kilos, another 25, 30 pounds left in him. And, maybe he wants to be able to get a higher weight at some other point. So like he's looking down at the floor, he's pushing and pulling back. Just fantastic lifting. It's just mind-boggling that he lifted that weight in that way.
Being joined now by the man who just won his third straight Arnold Strongman Classic Championship and just set the new deadlift world record at 501 kilos. He is the man they call the Mountain, Hafthor Bjornsson. Hafthor, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. It's absolutely an honor to be here, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Hafthor, you went after this record in the middle of a global pandemic. So how did that affect your training going into your world record attempt?
Training for me hasn't really changed a whole lot at all, to be honest with you. I have obviously my own facility where I'm able to train. I have the best training in the world, Rogue Fitness, so it's super handy for me to be able to be here. But when the gyms got closed here in Iceland, I decided actually to move some of my equipment to my garage, and I trained there actually in my preparation for the 501. That went well, at least, I was able to, I did the world record, so I'm happy. overall, it hasn't changed at all, because when I prepare myself for a competition, I like to isolate myself. I like to just be by myself and, be in the zone. So it didn't really make any difference for me.
You mentioned the 501 kilo lift. What was it like after all the prep that you put into going after that record to finally feel that weight go up?
That was great. I was very happy with that lift. I pulled the 501 quite comfortably. I could have done more on that day, but that was enough to break the record. I was happy, my family was happy, and I'm not doing this for anyone else. I'm doing this mainly for myself. For me to be able to perform and do 501 and still be healthy is mind-blowing. It just shows what kind of shape I was in that day. I believe that I could have pulled that day, without a doubt, 510 kilograms. 520 would have been a struggle, and I'm not sure. I don't want to sit here today and say something that I'm unsure of, because I know what those extra 10 kilograms are going to do is extreme.
Well, this weekend you actually get to be a little bit of a spectator and watch the Rogue Invitational. So what are you looking forward to the most to seeing here?
Me, I'm just super excited to see great athletes compete. I know it's going to be a tight competition. I always love to watch the women as well, because, they always just surprise me with their, talents and strength. It's incredible to watch these women do their human stuff, It's just great. I can't wait.
Well, listen, Hafthor, congratulations again on the record that you set on the deadlift. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here and enjoy the event.
Thank you so much, friend. I can't wait to watch the Rogue Invitational.
Here's a look at Hafthor Bjornsson's resume so far. He is the 3-time Arnold Strongman Classic champion. He was the 2018 World's Strongest Man and 9-time Iceland's Strongest Man. Dr. Bill, obviously this guy has a lot of his career left in front of him. Where does his legacy stand right now?
Clearly is one of the all-time greatest strongmen. He's won the Arnold Strongman Classic 3 times in a row, World's Strongest Man winner, multiple other competitions that he's won, all the highest world-class titles, he's touched them and won them. So he will go down as one of the greatest strongmen of all time, and holding that great deadlift record as well.
Now, he has some other things to think about too right now as his training shifts a little bit.
He does. He's shifting his focus on a boxing match. I mean, everyone's talking about it. It's been publicized. He's lost some weight. He's going to try to get in shape to box. I think Hafthor is taller and has a lot more advantage as far as height, maybe reach. But Eddie's a great athlete. They're both World's Strongest Man winners, but they're both inexperienced boxers. It'll be really interesting to watch. I know that.
Well, Dr. Bill, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to hearing from you tomorrow as we do talk about some of those world record attempts that have been made in the past couple of months.
Great. Thank you, Sean.
So we have now covered some CrossFit. We have talked about strongman. Let's get into the world of weightlifting, and we're being joined right now by the 2-time silver medalist at the World Weightlifting Championships, and she is hoping to represent the United States at the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. She is Mattie Rogers. And Mattie, the big story in your world, of course, is the fact that the Olympics were postponed until 2021. How have you been dealing with that change?
The first probably 2 weeks after they announced it, I was emotionally not in the best place. It's really hard to deal with, because it's kind of all 4 years you're just got to make it another year, just another year, and then you basically get there and they're a whole nother year, and then they're well, we don't know if your qualifications are done yet. We might just start over. We don't know. So just hang on. So it's dealing with a pandemic, and then also until maybe last week, I had no idea where, what, when I would have to compete to try to keep my spot.
So with that being said, how has all this affected your training?
The training is difficult because we don't have like a solid game plan. It's hard to make a program to like an imaginary meet because we don't know what I have to do. So that part's been hard because I just like, I don't know what I'm training for. But mentally, I think it's definitely a bit more challenging than physically because I can like go drag my ass into the gym any day, but mentally it's hard to like be there every day.
What have you been doing then to keep yourself sane during this whole lockdown that we're going through?
I learned how to make bread. I'm pretty good at making bread, just like everyone else now. I'm still in school. I took on double the course load that I normally would for the summer because what else am I doing? I have a mystery person sending me a skateboard because I did want to learn how to skateboard. So we're almost there for that one too.
Mattie, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck moving forward, and we hope to see you representing the United States at the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. And we'll have more weightlifting talk tomorrow on the Rogue Iron Game when we talk with CJ Cummings. Both of them, CJ and Mattie, are, of course, dealing with the postponement of the Olympics. We are dealing with no Mat Fraser at the Invitational because of an injury, and that means that the popular school of thought is that this thing might come down to Noah Ohlsen against Pat Vellner. Patrick Vellner, who's going to get the event win and lock up 100 points.
I don't want to see myself outside of the top 3 or top 5. I think that that's where I need to be, where I belong.
Listen to the crowd get behind Noah Ohlsen.
Just being able to stay headstrong and work through the adversity and know that it doesn't define me.
Patrick Vellner, who is your overall leader after 3 events.
I want to be beating the leaders in more events, trying to win more events individually. At the end of the day, we were measured against our peers, and I want to be one of the best of them.
Better late than never for Noah Ohlsen. First event win, and he will be your overall leader.
Just knowing that I shouldn't give up when I'm faced with some adversity and being able to push through, I think will benefit me.
Let's bring Chase Ingram and Margaux Alvarez back in as we now focus on the men's field. 18 total athletes competing here at the 2020 Rogue Invitational after Mat Fraser withdrew because of that injury. 5 of them have stood on the games podium, and we have a former champ in the field. Noah Ohlsen is one of the athletes who has stood on the podium, of course, second last year to Mat Fraser at the CrossFit Games. Bjorgvin Gudmundsson, Pat Vellner, and Lucas Hogberg have also stood on the games podium. Ben Smith, the only champion in the field. Chandler Smith also here, a man who used this event last year to qualify for the CrossFit Games. Chase, we saw the feature on Pat Vellner and Noah Ohlsen, and I think the popular school of thought is, as we said, that it's going to come down to these 2 individuals. Who are you going to be watching in the field between those 2, though, to actually win this thing?
I mean, it's a good question. I'm going to look at both of them as they navigate the weekend. This is kind of an unprecedented waters that all of these athletes are facing, but if you look at their pedigree at the games and in live competition, Noah taking second at the games last year, his first time on the podium, but Vellner is just a vessel of consistency. What this guy has done in all live competitions has been nothing short of amazing. In fact, it's only that dominance of Mat Fraser that kind of may overshadow how great Vellner is. So Noah and Vellner are your top 2 guys to look at when you're just really looking at their background and their pedigree.
Well, let's talk picks now. Let's get down to brass tacks. Who, Chase, do you think is going to win on the men's side?
Well, with this setting, I'm going to go with Noah. I think he's in a world of his own in terms of staying in his lane, and this is a stay-in-your-lane type of event. So based off what Noah's done in the past and kind of how he trains and gets set, I'm going to go with Noah Ohlsen.
Margaux, how about you?
They're both great athletes, but I'm going to say Pat's going to take this one.
Okay, let's go over to the women's side. We'll start with you, Margaux. Who wins the 2020 Rogue Invitational for the women?
It's tough. I think the battle's going to be between Tia and Sarah. So to put my thumb on just one, I'm like, oh, it's tough. But I think I want to lean towards Tia just because she's had so much consistency over the years.
Not to kind of pick the easy choice here, not saying it is easy, but until Tia gets beat, you're not going to pick against her. You've won 3 years in a row at the Games. She is at a level of her own, and I haven't seen anybody rise to that in the 12, 13 years that I've seen the CrossFit Games going on. So I'm going to stick with Tia.
Well, we're going to find out soon, because when we come back, we are going to have actual competition taking place. That's going to do it for the Rogue Iron game. After this, though, event 1 of the 2020 Rogue Invitational. Stay with us, everybody.